Tired of asking why? Welcome to the Unresolved Life podcast, where we are answering life's most difficult questions. Now, here's your host, Teresa Blaes.
Welcome to the Unresolved Life podcast. My name is Teresa Blaes, and today I have a very special guest with us. Pastor John, welcome.
Welcome to you too.
We wanted to start by reading a piece because I think that will set the tone for this episode. All right?
Okay.
So, relinquish your bitterness, else you'll be drinking the poison. Meant for your enemy, don't be the next victim. Eaten alive, stop the chatter inside your head, else you'll be disconnected, out of focus, needing to be realigned. For too long, you've awakened, many a sleepless night, ever chasing after the reason why. Yet take a moment, a step back. Was it grace that erased your past? And mercy that saw you repentant? Can you forgive them? That doesn't mean acceptance or justifying their crime. God will bring justice in due time. Now, Pastor, let me start this by giving some introduction. I met Pastor John through the Daily Audio Bible fan group. We've kind of gotten to know each other over the past few months, and he has been kind of walking with me as I've sought to launch this particular project, this Unresolved Life podcast, and a few other things. And when I asked him to come on the show, I asked him what piece spoke to him, and he said that this one actually did. John, do you mind explaining why this piece spoke to you? And we'll go from there.
Okay. I think I connected with it because there's been a lot of times in my life that I've just been in transition, and I had to make a decision whether I was going to be stuck in the pain of the past, which is still there, some, or move on and put it behind me and look for better things and look for a deeper relationship with the Lord. So it's just kind of hit of a raw spot there, and also the way out to forgive and be forgiven where I need to, with my attitude and my negative thinking. Mm-hmm. And it has gotten better. But this piece just kind of reflected on that journey from the past into the present and future.
Well, I wonder, because I know when I wrote it, I was talking about unforgiveness.
Right.
And I know a lot of people today, they struggle with unforgiveness and with hurt, and whether that be forgiveness against another person, where they're dealing with bitterness, or maybe they're bitter against God. And I wonder, have you actually had times where that has been the case, where you've asked him, why? Why did you allow this? Why did you allow this person to hurt me?
There have, yes. And why did you allow me to be in this situation? More than that right now, why is it that people around me are suffering and I can't do anything about it? So yeah, I have that battle, and then I have to just keep giving that up to the Lord. I have been in that place, absolutely.
Well, what have you discovered in regards to getting yourself out of that? Because, a lot of people, they may come to you going, I've seen a lot of things happen to me. I've seen a lot of things happen to people around me. This life, it just sucks. And if God is a good God, if he really does care, then why?
And I might have to just answer that. We may never know. Some things that happen, they just happen. We can't explain them, but we can't let them define who we are. And especially as Christians, we're in Christ, and that's a whole other ballgame, and that's a whole new life. He says we have a new life in him. So it's a question for me whether I want to live in that new life or live in the past and, the why me, or why did this happen, or why doesn't this happen? It's what do I want inside of me? What do I want to live by? What do I want to be the most important thing in my life? And when the negative comes up, and it certainly does, I just have to keep saying, that's not who I am. That's not what I want. That's not where I want to head. That's not going to help me in my relationship with the Lord. So, Lord, you deal with him.
Right. Now you were talking, obviously you're a pastor, but you're talking from a Christian standpoint. What about those in the audience that may not necessarily be a Christian, and they're going, well, that's great for you. You got the crutch to lean on. I don't believe in that. What would you have to say to them?
Well, I have to say first that being a Christian is not a crutch. It is an opportunity to get some help, but you still have to go through it. Whatever it is that's in your past is inside you. And you still have to wrestle with that. Christian or not, you have to wrestle with that. As a Christian, I have God's help, but I still have to deal with it and I still have to process it. Sometimes that it's not very pretty. I get angry. Mainly, I deal with the anger inside, but still, for a non-Christian, look at it this way. Is that what you want for yourself? Do you want the unforgiveness? Is that really worth it? Because, I've heard that like being unforgiven is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It just doesn't help you. You can't change what's happened in the past. And that may frustrate you to no end. If you can't change it, what are you going to do? You got to move on in some way. You got to let it go. You got to put it behind you and just make that decision whether you want to live that way or not. If you want to live in constant agony, why did this happen, which you'll never figure out, most likely, or you want to say, I don't know what happened, but look at what I got here. What do I have right now? Things are better now, or if they're not, they can be. What can I do with where I am right now?
At least from my experience, at least from my dealing with unforgiveness and from dealing with the skeletons of the past, so to speak, I am not going to sit here and say that I have all my skeletons figured out. I don't. Okay.
Right.
There are areas that are completely still unresolved, but I know for me, I am a Christian, and I will be the first to say that, but I'm not going to say that all of a sudden that means my life is perfect. It's not, but it is forgiven, and that's a huge difference. And I wrote this piece because I honestly believe there's a huge difference between living in the prison of unforgiveness and living in the new life that Christ gives. It's not something that's going to be easy, and I will not sit there and pretend. No, I don't know what you've gone through. It's not, and a lot of people, they sit there and they go, yeah, but how can I honestly come to a God when all this stuff has happened to me?
Yeah.
Because didn't he allow it? Or did he cause it?
And that may be one that we can't answer. But, you got a question too. Maybe you think that God did this or allowed it, and that's when we just can't figure out in this life. Brain's just not big enough to wrap around that. But he's also your source. He's also the one you can turn to bring you through. And he does bring us through. As we lean on him, he does bring us through. That is a promise. That's a guarantee. I have seen that. In my case, it's like, mentally I struggle with some stuff, and he brings me through the mud until it makes sense, and now we know what to do with that. Yeah, it's a process, and it's a hard process, but there is peace and success at the other end.
I can't help but agree with you more. And I guess the biggest takeaway is this. If you're not a Christian, I'd certainly like you to become one, but that's in between you and God. I honestly do believe that Jesus came, he died on the cross for your sin and for mine, and that he rose from the dead, and that he wants to forgive, he wants to cleanse and change your life. But if you're not a Christian and you're still struggling with these situations, you're always going to have these areas that are going to gnaw at you. And the only one that's going to help you, be able to help you put them to rest, is the Lord. Okay? If you are a Christian, Jesus is very clear. Forgive and you will be forgiven. Take it up with him. He's the one that said it. Pastor, do you have any other thoughts or any other things that are on your heart that you want to offer before we wrap this up?
I don't know. Anytime I get into a conversation with you, it goes pretty deep. So I have to take a little while to process that. For some reason, I don't know how that happens. Because you are very real in where you're coming from, and I am too. So, I have to wrestle with unforgiveness of other people, but just as much I have to wrestle with unforgiveness of myself, not being who I think I should be, but that really isn't any of my business, because God is the one who's growing me, and he's the one that has the plans to develop me and make me into what he wants me to be. And do I think I'm where I need to be? No. Will I ever be? No, not until I get home to be with him. But I'm growing, and I'm different than what I was. I'm not, thank God I'm not where I was. But, and sometimes I feel like I have to forgive God, even though he didn't do anything wrong. It's like,
that
why
that
is, what I'm talking about
right there. How many times have I gone in and gone, you know what, God, I'm really teed off at you. And that really does bring up another thought of, this isn't just about forgiveness of other people. This is also forgiveness of yourself, but also in a way it is forgiveness of God, because if you are harboring anger or rage, even to the point maybe you're saying he doesn't exist, the fact is he does. At least for me, before I became a believer, the only reason I said he didn't exist is because I was too angry at him over events in my life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are in that place, possibly some people that we're speaking to now.
Right.
So the question that I have is this: does he exist? Can we prove he exists? Well, what do you think?
Well, if he doesn't, I just talked to nobody this morning. He talks to me, I talk to him. He puts ideas in my head. He puts peace in my heart. He encourages me, and to be happening, he has to be real. Yes, he is definitely real. Now, do we understand him? No, he's God. We're not. We are finite, and he is infinite. So he's also infinite in his love and his grace and his mercy and his help if we call on him and if we get real with him. That's what we have to wrestle with sometimes, and just say, I don't understand what's going on, Lord. I don't like it, but I need some help to just help me get past this point. Help me to get whatever's buried inside out of me so I can move on and enjoy the life that you have planned for me to live. So I don't even know where this question started, but I think it was the answer.
And that's totally cool. I think for me, he does exist, because if he didn't, here's the thing. I would rather believe in a God and know where I'm going at the end of my life than to not believe in a God and realize I was wrong.
Yeah. If you're wrong, you can't do anything about it.
I just would rather, if you're wrong, it's a little bit too late. That's, Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. That's honestly the basics of this whole thing. So I guess I want to end this with this, you guys. 1, take the time to sit down and figure out all the areas where maybe you've got unforgiveness and you've got questions and you've got bitterness. And 2, it doesn't have to be just against others. It could be against yourself. It could be against God. If it's against God, take the time to be real with him. Because I guarantee you, I've told him off a few times, right or wrong, I've had some very difficult conversations with him. And he wants that. In Isaiah 1:18, it says, Come, let us reason together. Though your sins be as scarlet, I will make them white as snow. That's the promise that he offers. And that's the promise that you have the choice to take.
Excellent.
So, with that, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been the Unresolved Life podcast. I'm Teresa Blaes. This has been Pastor John Day, and we will see you next time. If you like what you've heard, please let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.
You've been listening to the Unresolved Life podcast. To catch all our past shows, go to unresolved.life. That's unresolved.life.